Hey guys, this is Matt with Passback here with our very first footbag shoe review video, and today we are taking a look at the Cayd by Altra. This first review video is going to be slightly different than those to come because I have actually already been playing in these shoes for 6 or 7 months, and if you've seen any of the videos I've made this year, you've probably noticed. And I have 2 pairs to show off today. I have the pair that I have been playing in since April, which I purchased for the MSRP price of $130 that we will see in the second part of this video, and I have this new pair that I got on sale for $90, which we will take a look at in just a sec. Now, normally with an unboxing, I would be seeing shoes in detail for the first time and giving my initial impressions, but obviously I'm very familiar with these shoes by now. However, I do still want to follow the format that I laid out in the series intro video, so let's first open this up and take a look at a brand new pair of Altras. Probably the first thing you would notice about these is the wider toe box. Their idea with it is it's a more natural shape for your foot and let your toes spread out more naturally. But for our purposes, it's definitely a larger landing pad for toe stalls. The material on the toe feels fine. It's definitely a little thicker than a laver. The inside looks good, nice and flat, nice clipper wall thanks to the sole. The material is thicker than you would want for sure. The material on the inside and the outside is the same. It's a leather-ish feeling material, so we're definitely going to want to cut into this so we can feel the bag. But on the outside, thicker material is good because it will hold up better to tearing and scraping when you hit the ground. Probably this will never ever rip unless you really, really scrape it up. So these shoes are not running shoes, but Altra is a running company and the sole definitely looks like a running shoes sole. This is real rubber. I can't imagine any grip problems on any surface you would play on, so that's good. I remember reading on Zappos, somebody had asked if the insole was removable, and they had said no, that it was fixed, but I don't usually mess around with insoles too much, so I don't have much to say about this other than it feels fine. You get a nice logo right there. You can swap it in with your own insole if you want. The only thing that would concern me if I hadn't already been playing in these is the heel is a soft shell back here, which would make me concerned about stability as compared to the laver, which has a hard shell heel back here. It turns out it's not an issue. We'll talk about it more, but it's something to note for sure. Good flexibility. Not too soft. I can say from experience that it's a good feel to walk around in, but you can definitely flex and crank when you're wearing it. Okay, last thing, let's get the weight. So 337, that's a little bit heavier than the laver, but still well within the range that we're looking for. I mean, just to feel it, it doesn't feel heavy. You know, it's not the lightest shoe I've ever held, but no concerns about the weight. I think out of the box they look great. Had I not already played in them, I would be really excited to try them out. Okay, so the shoes look pretty good out of the box, and even though I know what's coming, I'm still excited to get out there and try these. So I will see you back here in about a month. Or maybe like 6. Okay, it's gonna be like a couple days. Welcome back. Here we are 6 months later with the Altra Cayd. I'm going to be evaluating these as pro shoes, which means that anything is fair game in terms of modifications and trick selection. As I said in the intro, I have been playing in these shoes all season, mostly outside around 5 sessions per week, So please keep that in mind as we first take a look at how I've modded them and how they are holding up. The two mods that I've done are the toe walls on the left shoe and the insides on both. While both mods are easy to perform, be careful at the top of the inside where I accidentally cut into the inner material, which needed to be stitched and glued a couple of times in order to keep this top line together. Also, don't feel the need to cut away as much material on the inside as I have, because you really only need to remove enough in order to hit your sweet spot, which will maintain as much stability as possible and will prevent the inner material from tearing. It's a little hard to see, but a good amount of that material has torn away on the bottom, which doesn't actually affect playability right now, but if it were to tear completely, it would render the shoe pretty much unplayable. With more of the outer material intact, there would be less stress put on the inner material, which would prevent it from tearing as much. As for the rest of the wear, I have a cosmetic rip across the lace line of the left shoe, and the outsides are scuffed up a bit, but nowhere near close to tearing, as I so smartly predicted. The largest victim of this period are the soles, which are completely worn down, with even a hole developing straight through on the right shoe. This shoe goo patch I did a month or two ago has held up surprisingly well, but it's past time for me to retire this pair. Moving on to playability, the best aspect by far of the Altras is the inside. The inner material has a great feel, and the shape of the surface is pretty perfect. I find that I can crank a lot easier than I could in lavers, which means I don't need to work as hard in order to get a flat stalling surface. Even pre-mod, I think the inside is totally playable. It lacked a bit in feel, obviously, but I played for at least a month with the unmodded surface and had no real complaints. In addition to the great inside, these had basically zero break-in period, and I was having fun with them almost immediately. During my first session, it took me about 30 minutes to get used to them, after which I was able to play pretty normally. This was a very pleasant surprise because if you're familiar with lavers, you know that they have a notoriously tough break-in period, and I can confidently say I have never had fun playing in day one lavers. Unfortunately, the sole of the Altra does not have as long of a lifespan as the laver does, which does balance that lack of break-in time. As I said in the first part of the video, though these are not running shoes, they come from a running shoe company and do share some of the same design principles, especially when it comes to stability and the sole. I feel really secure jumping around in these, putting my full force behind sets, and doing harder landings and symposium tricks. Modding the inside takes away some of that base stability, but not enough to justify not modding it. The sole is equally great when it's there, and I had no problem gripping on any surface that I played on, though I did scrape my leg up a fair amount when I accidentally kicked myself because the sole was so grippy. Now, while the Altra inside is probably my favorite that I've ever played with, the toe is only pretty good. The stock material offers a decent amount of feel, and though you could mod it to reveal this thinner material underneath, I haven't felt the need to do so. On my right toe, I basically have no complaints. It's a good size, and I got a nice straight crease line to create a pretty perfect stalling area. My left is a bit of a different story though. My left foot is a little shorter than my right, which means my toes sit a bit farther back, and my sweet spot for stalling is a bit behind where I would want it to be on this shoe. My left toe also cranks less consistently than my right, which created a crooked crease line that makes it a bit harder to do a solid stall. Because of these two issues, I do occasionally roll a stall on my left toe, though not nearly as much now as when I first started playing in them, and even then I didn't really have a problem doing long toe combos. I did open up the toe walls to see if it might mitigate this issue, which it does, but I probably won't do this mod on my next pair, again simply for stability reasons, and I prefer the more secure feeling with the normal lacing. Even though it's clear that lavers have a slightly superior toe, it's not to say that the Altra toe is bad, it just requires you to be a little more precise. As for the rest of the shoe, I haven't noticed any difference with the little bit of extra weight and bulk as compared to lavers, and I can do all of my speed tricks without issue. I do have a couple of annoying complaints. I find that I need to adjust the tongue and my socks a little too often, which can interrupt the flow of my sessions. You'll also notice that I swapped out the stock laces because they basically de-gloved themselves, which made untying them a real chore until they finally snapped or I had to cut them off because I couldn't get the knot out. Laces are the most disposable part of a shoe, so it's not really a big deal, but it is still kind of annoying, and I might recommend swapping them out immediately just so you don't have to deal with it. And I mean, come on, look at that color contrast. Now, normally this is the part where I would guess at the lifespan and comment on the long-term value of the shoe. However, because I have been playing in these for the majority of the year while we got the channel off the ground, we don't have to guess. If you're playing a lot and mostly outside, as I was, you're looking at a 6 to 8 month lifespan. In comparison, I could always expect a pair of lavers to last me for at least a year and maybe even a year and a half. You could probably stretch the Altra to a year by using mats outside and mixing in indoor sessions more often, but either way, this is not the longest lasting shoe. I think that the lifespan might seem too short to some, but even so, either at the sale price or the MSRP, I think this is a great shoe for advanced players. If you're mostly a toe player, this might not be the perfect shoe for you, but otherwise I would recommend giving this a try. Even though it won't last you as long as a laver would, by the time you rip through it, you'll have no trouble finding a new pair. I hope this is not the last shoe that I get to say this about, but this is my favorite shoe I've ever played in, and I am going to continue playing in Altras for the foreseeable future. Thanks for watching this review of the Altra Cayd, and if you do end up trying them out, I would love to hear about your experience in the comments. I would also like to thank Cameron Kennedy for posting these shoes to the Freestyle Footbaggers Facebook group way back in March, which accidentally sent me down the path of creating this series and the entire channel. So really, thank you, Cameron. We might not be here without you. As always, if you have a shoe that you want me to take a look at, you can let me know either in the comments or send me a message on Instagram. Please subscribe to keep up with our future reviews and videos, and see you next time.